Ultimate Storm and T'Challa have just welcomed their newborn child, and I just want to say congratulations on a newborn grown man. So with that said, we gotta talk about it. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so just as a bit of a recap for how things got to this point, not too long ago back in issue 18, we saw T'Challa and Ororo, who had both been away from Wakanda for quite some time, become a lot closer after being alone together for so long, with them doing their investigation of dark vibranium. So they had these talks every evening about what would be their next move that eventually led to more deep and meaningful conversations. Things got heated, one thing led to another, and the two of them got intimate. And for a little while, the story stepped away to catch up with what was happening in Wakanda. And by the time we came back to these two, Storm was missing. But we found out right away that she was taken by Zanan, the leader of the progenitors, who's also known as the spirit of vibranium. And he was told by Matron Amala, the Vodou Khan, that T'Challa and Storm's child was destined to be his vessel. So not long after T'Challa did his part, Zanan was just like, hey, you're no longer needed. So he tried to kill him, only to have the goddess Bast intervene, so she could take him on a spiritual journey so T'Challa could fully claim the Panther's power. And now when T'Challa returned, he soon after discovered that his sister Shuri was basically a traitor, but they weren't able to go too deep into that because of the immediate threat, which as it turns out isn't just Zanan and a few other progenitors, but this was something that would become a full-blown invasion. And with Shuri's help recently, they found out that the progenitors had been here before, and that their history was much closer to Wakanda's than anyone would have guessed. And this is how the Vodou Khan, who are like spiritual advisors to the Wakandan throne for generations, were able to take portions of the truth and the prophecies of what would come and use that to manipulate the throne. And this is something that was kicked into high gear by Matron Amala, who told T'Challa the prophecy that he would meet the Woman of Light, their fates would be intertwined, and they'd grow this bond in the time of war, and they'd have a child who would be the heir that Wakanda had waited for generations. And throughout this series, we've seen most of this play out, but it wasn't until recently when we learned that Matron Amala's intention, it wasn't just to ensure that T'Challa would go forward, meet this woman, have this child, and continue his legacy, but this whole time she was trying to speed up the conception, the birth, and the growth of this child so Zanan could use it as his vessel. And this kind of turned into a reveal with us finding out that the Vodou Khan, they don't serve the throne, they don't serve kings or queens, but instead they only serve gods. And if they believe that a new god is getting ready to take the place of another, then the Vodou Khan's gonna switch it up. And that's what placed them in alignment with the progenitors centuries ago. But jumping forward to the current moment, when we finally get back to Storm, we find her in the chamber of the Vodou Khan, in labor. And I know what you're thinking, it's only been like what, 4 months since issue 18? How is this woman about to have a whole baby? And now one explanation we get, it goes back to the Vodou Khan secretly being mystics. So they used magic to pull it off, but any of their powers were kept a secret up until like issue 17, when we found out Matron Amala and the Vodou Khan's true motive, as well as her being behind the assassination of T'Challa's father, T'Chaka. So you could say with Matron Amala's manipulation of powerful figures in high places, as well as hiding her powers until she was cornered, it's very much like a Senator Palpatine kind of thing, because to her and the Vodou Khan, the only thing that matters is serving the higher power, or whoever they believe to be the highest power, which for some time has been the progenitors and their return. So Matron Amala is more or less like, not only are they up next, but this new age is finna start now. And as far as the matron's concerned, everyone who's involved, whether it's Ororo, her child, or T'Challa, they're all just tools. And there's a moment here where she tells Ororo, like, you've done the work of a goddess, take your rest. But even still, the matron severely underestimates her. And even now for Storm, she's just like, how? She's like, this is impossible, this is too soon. And the matron just tells her all things are possible now. Just before she takes the child and looks to the other members of the Vodou Khan and tells them, we are the last generation made to wait. Our belief has been rewarded. We will see the return of the first power. The child of light will make a throne of the world. As she lifts up the child and says, the 1,000 years are complete. Hail those who came before. Hail those who will come again. Hail the paradise to come. He will make a throne of the world. And now back over with T'Challa, Eric, and Anan, the Sorcerer Supreme. She's telling them that Aurora is alive. She can feel her, but her power is being muted. And she goes on to say the Vodou Khan are magicians. They're folding shadow around her. The progenitors are aiding them. Brace yourselves. I need an assembly with the Alatori. So then she calls them forth to serve her, to serve the Sorcerer Supreme. And she tells T'Challa and Eric that these will be their seekers just before she gives them the command to find Storm, the elemental woman. Find her through the Veil of Shadow. And of course, this whole time, both Eric and T'Challa are like, well, what am I looking at? And this is set up to be very mysterious for the moment, because before they go, one of them tell the sorcerers Anan, we serve you sorcerers for the price of the assembly. And she tells them the price shall be paid. find her. So they head out to search for Aurora. But that last little bit of exchange about the price of the assembly and how Anon would owe them something, T'Challa and Eric weren't supposed to hear that. So when they start asking all kind of questions, like for starters, Eric's like, what were those things? She just tells him, you don't care. You want her safe, so don't ask. And when T'Challa asked Anon, I'm like, what's all this about a price needing to be paid? She deflects once again, because she tells him your kingdom is about to be invaded by cosmic Armageddon. Aurora has been captured by zealots of the apocalypse. You are in a league with Mother Bast and mastering dark vibranium. Worry about your problems, King T'Challa, and let me manage the price of the Alatori. They will succeed. They always do. You and Eric should be ready to act. Finding her will be the easiest part of this. Getting her back will be your challenge. So again, Anon, she has her secrets, and she has her own motives, which we've speculated about for some time now. And I'm not going to go too deep into that in the here and now, like I have before, but I will say I think it's possible that she's waiting for this whole progenitor ordeal to be done with before we find out what she really wants. And after this, we jump forward to just before T'Challa and Eric get ready to go, where before they leave, T'Challa tells Eric that he thinks they need to have a talk, referring to a deeper conversation about Aurora. But Eric's just like, we don't. Anon was right. I just want her safe. And based on the time you two spent together, I think you do too. And right there, it really feels like Eric is on some, I don't care, but he really do. Because then Eric asks, do you love her? And T'Challa's like, love? No. I wanted her at the same time she wanted me. That's all. And so Eric is like, and does your queen know? And T'Challa just turns around and looks at him like, what, you gonna tell on me? I'm like, oh, you trying to be messy. But no, he tells Eric, I have told Okoye, yes, love has never kept the throne of Wakanda strong. We are a union of power and leadership. We have grown to appreciate one another. And hearing that just has Eric like, man, you must be so lonely. And T'Challa doesn't even dispute that. He's just like, Killmonger, you have no idea. And after that, they head out. And Eric's just like, Wakanda will never be a place I understand. But to me, Wakanda's been making way more sense than Eric's whole situation with Aurora, because they've had their hot and steamy moments. Then all of a sudden, when her and T'Challa hook up, Eric's just like, whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's holding back some feelings that all just come rushing up to the surface at some point. And now jumping back to Storm, we find her asking Matron Amalo, where's her child? And the matron tells her, it's not your child, or T'Challa's. He was the seed, you are the vessel, the child belongs to the light. And yo, I don't think that argument's gonna hold up in court. That's crazy. Like, it's nobody's child. When the matron goes on to tell Aurora that she should stop fighting and how she belongs to them, Aurora then asks her here, what do you want? And the matron tells her what the Voodoo Khan has always wanted, power. As she goes on to say, and the true power lies beyond this world. It lies in the cosmos. Wakanda is a land of kings and queens. The Voodoo Khan exists for gods, the gods that came once and shall come again in this age, in our time. I've seen the future. The ones from beyond have shown me. T'Challa and all of his bloodline have the will of vibranium within them. The gods flow through their veins, but it needed to be woven with other power. Your power, Aurora. You don't even know what you are. She who commands the skies to rain. You are not a woman, Aurora. You are a storm, and you have one more task to accomplish. And when Storm's basically like, oh yeah, well what's that? The matron tells her this task is drawing the king and his weapons to us, so we can destroy them. And from here, they begin the process of accelerating the child's growth, while also preparing him for Zenon to take this body. And the matron's already celebrating their victory, with her saying, do you see my Storm? They've come to make their home in him now. Meanwhile, just outside, we see T'Challa and Eric being led right to them by the Alatori, as well as the arrival of Bast, who does not like this at all. Because next we see her approach Aurora and tell her, hear me, hold fast to your strength. Listen, that thing is not your child, and it must be destroyed. So Aurora's like, who are you? And Bast is like, who are you? What are you? As she goes on to tell Aurora how being held by these zealots, it's kind of ridiculous because Storm is so much more powerful than them. But her whole life she's been holding back, fleeing from her power. So she tells Aurora that she needs to embrace it, be the Storm, and make the matron rule her words. And as Eric and T'Challa make their way in, Eric is like, okay, these Voodoo Khan, they have magic. And again, all of this is new to T'Challa as well, like he ain't know. But really, Eric is setting up a question here, because he's like, what's the difference between a mystic and a magician? And that's where Matron Amala steps in and tells him the difference is power, as she immediately attacks them at the front entrance. And something to kind of keep in mind for a moment here is that with Eric, with Killmonger, he doesn't really care for or really much believe in much of this gods stuff, though you would think after everything he's seen, he'd be convinced by now. So to him, he's just fighting to save Aurora, so whoever's in the way, they can get it. While on the other hand, for T'Challa, now that he knows the truth about the Voodoo Khan, in Matron Amala's lust for power, to him it's like she's lost. And I don't know if I'd say that she's someone who seems to be lost or has lost her way in a sense, because she's known what she's been after for the longest time. But then there's a moment in this fight where she switches it up on him because she goes dual saber Palpatine just before catching Eric with a nasty hit that takes him out of the fight. Like, he's done here. And while this is going on, and I mean in the matter of seconds, but while this is going on, the Voodoo Khan is continuing the ritual, and we see Storm and T'Challa's son age a good 15 to 20 years in a matter of seconds. Like, it's ridiculous. But right now, with T'Challa still being occupied with this fight, when he sees Eric go down, he goes in on Matron Amala. And I'm talking about he put the paws on her and in her. And I mean, he digs all up in her ribs, like, let me tickle those lungs real quick. And he gets up close and tells her, you chose the wrong god, only for the matron to just double down on her own beliefs. But when T'Challa then goes to ask her, where is she? Where's Aurora? The matron gets snatched up by some lightning just before catching another lightning bolt that's cranked up much higher. Like, it went from mild shock to you done now. And this is where Storm shows up telling T'Challa, I'm here. And now it's like she's fully accepted who she is and what she is, which in a way is very similar to what we saw with T'Challa embracing the full extent of his power. So in a way, all of this has made both of them truer to who they are and more powerful. And now fortunately for Eric, when he's approached by Bast, she tells him to be still, and how even though she's the very thing that he doesn't believe in, she's gonna go ahead and heal him, because she's patient. But also Killmonger has his role to play in stopping the progenitors too. But Bast goes on to tell them here, the child is the gateway, Wakanda is their goal, then the entire world. The three of you are all that stands in their way, but you will have to do more than stand. You will need to fight, and I will teach you how. So yeah, we're still gonna have to wait and see what's the verdict as far as Storm and T'Challa's son, because I'm pretty sure they don't want to destroy him. And at the same time, that could be pretty difficult if Zanon's already taken his body. So yeah, this is a wild way to age up a kid in a story. And I heard the MCU was doing something similar. Not sure. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like. And all I'm gonna say is, regardless of how fast the child is aged up, it's still a minor. Remember that. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.